Accidentally calling her boss hot and arrogant revealed an incredible, life-changing response. Sarah stood trembling, coffee pot in hand, unsure if her heart was racing from the caffeine or the chaos of the early morning staff meeting. The small diner buzzed with chatter, the scent of freshly baked pies mingling with sizzling bacon and rich coffee. Flickering fluorescent lights hummed softly above her head as Jake entered, the new boss hot and arrogant, or so she thought. Thoughts were racing, pandemonium swirling in her mind. He looked confident in his crisp button-down shirt, but her nerves twisted her stomach into knots. It all happened in a flash. One moment she was trying to outline the new menu changes, the next she blurted out the words that would change everything. "Honestly, Jake, you're just hot and arrogant." As the words hung heavy in the air, time slowed. The room erupted into laughter, eyes wide with shock, her face burning with humiliation. A sinking feeling washed over her, but even amid the embarrassment, something clicked in the back of her mind. In the days that followed, that comment went viral. Social media exploded with hashtags like hot and arrogant boss, and local news outlets were buzzing with gossip. Sarah became the town's unwitting celebrity. Her phone buzzed continuously with notifications, her friends texted congratulations, but beneath the exhilaration lurked judgment. "What kind of mother says that?" Whisperings filled the air, heavy with societal expectations. They didn't know her struggles, the weight she bore as a single mother, juggling shifts at the diner, and the dreams of opening her own bakery. As she navigated the storm, a surprising warmth began to grow. Jake reached out more often, intrigued by her authenticity. They shared quiet conversations during breaks, peeling back layers of their vastly different lives. Sarah discovered he was more than just the privileged businessman the town assumed. He had a depth dreams of his own, masked behind ambition. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as she dared to breathe a bit easier, the diner faltered under the impending threat of a health inspection. "They could shut us down." Sarah's voice quavered with worry as she faced her friends and coworkers. For her family and the community, the diner was more than a job, it was their heart. Determined, Sarah rallied the townsfolk. Flyers plastered to every telephone pole read, "Save our diner." With every dish she served, every slice of cherry pie, her community joined forces to protect their shared heartbeat. The diner's doors opened wide as laughter filled the air, but underneath it all, tensions brewed. As the deadline approached, Sarah's resolve shone through with fierce spark. And Jake? He saw the grit in her realness that went beyond his privileged world. There they stood, connected by the spirit of resilience, two paths converging in a small diner bustling with hope. But would their connection withstand the judgment and challenges that loomed ahead? Sarah clutched her heart, visions of her bakery dancing in her mind, caught between dreams and the reality she fought so hard to protect. Sarah's heart raced as she stood behind the counter, wiping down the surfaces that had seen too many late-night discussions and early morning bickering. The tension in the diner was palpable, like a tightly wound rubber band ready to snap. Every time the bell above the door jingled, her stomach dropped, anxious it would be the health inspector walking in to demand answers and explanations. "Okay, team, this is it," she called out, rallying the staff, whose faces displayed nervous energy and determination. They had teamed up to keep the diner running, to show their love for this place that had fed so many souls over the years. "We need to keep it clean, keep smiling, and remember, we're a family." As they worked together, the community's support flowed in like the warm sun breaking through a cold morning. Neighbors, friends, even strangers flocked to the diner, filling every booth with laughter. They spread the word on social media, posting pictures of their favorite meals and sharing stories of family dinners that had taken place within these walls. The town rallied behind Sarah and her dream, but as much as it filled her with hope, a sinking feeling still loomed. Jake entered just as Sarah was handing a slice of pie to an elderly customer. His presence, like a breath of fresh air, momentarily distracted her from her worries. He looked sharp in his tailored suit, yet softer in demeanor. "Hey, Sarah," he said, his voice low, filled with sincerity. "You've done something incredible here. The community loves this place, and so do I." His words sparked a warmth in her chest but also anxiety in her throat. She wasn't sure how to respond. Instead, she just smiled, searching for the right words amid the chaos of her thoughts. "You've been supportive, Jake. It means the world." She paused, feeling suddenly vulnerable in his presence. "But what if it's not enough?" Jake stepped closer, leaning against the counter. "We'll make it through this. Whatever happens, you're not alone. We'll face it together." For the first time, she really looked into his eyes, searching for the man behind the boss title. Maybe this hot, arrogant persona was more than she thought. A flicker of understanding passed between them, igniting something unspoken. She felt a pull, a connection like a thread tying them together against the backdrop of uncertainty. That evening, after the last customer left and the diner dimmed its lights, Sarah sat alone at a booth, reflecting on the weight of her dreams. Would she have to give them up if the diner couldn't stay open? Would the pressure of her situation swallow her whole? As she brewed another cup of coffee, she thought of her late-night baking sessions, the joy of creating something from scratch, the thrill of a new recipe. Suddenly, the doors swung open, and Jake stepped in, catching her off guard. "I'm not ready to let the diner go either," he declared, his voice steady. "We can work on this together. Your bakery dreams, your hard work, all of it. Let me help you." Sarah's heart brimmed with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. She never thought she'd feel such connection with someone like him. "You'd really do that for me?" she asked softly, hope flickering as she searched his face. "Yes," he responded, moving into the booth across from her. "You're more than your mistakes or whispers of judgment. You're a force, Sarah." But as the flickering diner lights buzzed overhead, doubt crept back in, demanding attention. What about the looming inspection and her unstable future? The tension crackled in the air, stirring up emotions Sarah didn't know how to confront. Jake's offer hung between them, a lifeline in her storm, but was she brave enough to grasp it? As she looked at him, questions pulsed in her mind. What if accepting his help meant opening up more than she was ready for? What if exposing her vulnerabilities led to more pain? The night stretched before her, full of whispers and worries, as Sarah found herself at a crossroads, a break from the past or a step into the unknown. How far would she go to chase her dreams? And would it mean letting someone else get too close? The diner was quiet now, a warm embrace of nostalgia wrapping around Sarah like a cozy blanket. Jake's eyes were fixed on her, searching, waiting for her to process his offer. The flickering light above cast shadows across his face, highlighting the sincerity etched into his features. "Sarah, you've built something special," he said gently, breaking the silence that enveloped them. "But I see you keeping it all inside, holding on to the fear. Let me in. Let me help you carry it." Her heart thudded in her chest. The vulnerability of his words both comforted and terrified her. Could she really let someone in? Life had been a series of walls built high to protect what was left of her dreams. But staring at Jake, she saw the strength in his offer, almost like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, yet she still hesitated. "I don't know if I can," she whispered, her voice cracking. "What if it doesn't turn out the way I hope? What if I let you down?" Jake leaned forward, his brown eyes warm and steady. "Then you'll have me here to pick up the pieces. That's what this is about, building something together. You have the passion. I have the resources. We can be unstoppable." A flicker of hope sparked in Sarah's chest. For so long, she'd been afraid to share her burdens, convinced that doing so would only lead to hurt. But Jake's presence felt different, like a reassuring hand on her back. Could she trust him? "Okay," she breathed, the word barely a whisper. "But I have to be honest with you about everything, the good, the bad, and the challenges we might face. I can't promise you perfection or that I will always know the right thing to do. That's all I ask, he replied, his tone earnest. Let us be straight with each other. If we're going to do this, we need a solid foundation. They shared a moment, eyes locked, and in that silence, the unspoken agreement to confront the storm together solidified. Sarah felt a warmth radiate from where their hands nearly touched, an energy electric enough to vibrate through the space between them. As she leaned back in the booth, the stress that had been weighing on her shoulders began to lift, just a little. Perhaps this partnership was what she'd been missing all along, a companion to share the load, someone who believed in her even when she didn't believe in herself. In that moment of newfound clarity, the diner door opened, jarring her thoughts and breaking the spell. A group of town locals stepped in, laughter and chatter spilling forth like sunlight through the glass. They greeted Sarah and Jake, welcoming them back to the hustle and bustle of the diner, the cocoon of calm fading. 2 pancakes, a side of bacon, and a slice of that famous apple pie. One regular shouted, a friendly grin plastered on his face. It reminded Sarah that their little diner was a heartbeat in this community. Every meal shared, every laugh exchanged, was part of a larger tapestry woven together. As she turned to the kitchen, preparing to deliver their orders, doubt flickered like the half-lit neon sign outside. What if it all fell apart? She couldn't ignore the looming inspection, the whispers of uncertainty still trailing just behind her. As Sarah poured the batter onto the griddle, a sudden weight in her chest made her pause. She wasn't ready for this burden, and yet everything in her felt like it was pushing her toward an answer. And then it hit her, this wasn't just about the diner or her dreams. It was about taking a chance on herself, and defining what she wanted. But before she could fully embrace that thought, a familiar figure caught her eye across the diner. A man in a crisp shirt stood at the counter, his fingers tapping nervously on the ledge. The tension in his posture mirrored her own. The health inspector. Panic surged through Sarah. What if this was the moment everything crumbled? What if Jake's offer only led to more complications? Would this really be the start of something beautiful, or was it simply a prelude to heartbreak? Her pulse quickened, a surge of fight rising in her. Could she unleash her fears and face this head-on, or would she run and hide under the weight of it all? The future was suddenly uncertain, the stakes higher than ever. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for the confrontation ahead as she approached the man waiting patiently at the counter. What would happen when she faced him? Would this define her destiny, or would it lead her further down a path of chaos? Sarah could feel her heart racing as she approached the health inspector. The air thickened around her, each step feeling like it was taken in slow motion. She braced herself, mentally repeating the mantras she had whispered to herself in those quiet moments. Be brave. Face this. The inspector looked up, his expression a mix of professionalism and a hint of impatience. She swallowed hard, trying to find her voice. She'd seen him at various diners throughout the town, but today the stakes were different. Today, it was her diner on the line. Good morning, she said, forcing a bright smile that felt almost foreign. I'm Sarah, the owner. Can I help you with anything? He nodded, shifting his clipboard from one side to the other as he surveyed her. Yes, just here for the semi-annual inspection. Shouldn't he take long if everything's in order? A small part of her wanted to bolt back to the kitchen, to hide among the sizzle of the griddle and the comforting smell of coffee brewing. But she stood firm, recalling Jake's words about sharing the load, about partnership. This was her moment to put those words into action. Right, I hope you don't mind if I ask a few questions while you go through the checklist? I want to make sure everything's clear for you. He raised an eyebrow, perhaps surprised by her assertiveness. Sure, if that helps. Just know that I'll have to report any issues. It felt like a punch to the gut, but she maintained her composure. Of course, understand that completely. Transparency is important. As he started inspecting the counter, tapping his pen against the clipboard, Sarah felt a wave of nervous energy wash over her. The weight of every small mistake, every moment she had questioned her decisions, loomed large. The possibility of failure danced on the edges of her mind, making it difficult to focus on the present. "Have you had any complaints from customers?" he asked, his voice steady as he scribbled notes. She hesitated, searching for the right words. "Not really. I mean, we have our regulars, and they always seem happy." "But I suppose," her voice trailed off. The pressure of honesty filled the air, heavy but vital. "There are always things I can improve. Like, for example, I've been trying to figure out how to expand our menu." He looked up, interest piqued. "Oh? What kind of dishes are you considering?" The conversation shifted, and for a moment, the tension lessened. Sarah could feel Jake's encouragement buzzing in the back of her mind. "Well, I thought about incorporating seasonal ingredients, maybe even some vegan options. I just want everyone to feel welcome here." The inspector nodded thoughtfully, scribbling another note. "That's a good idea. It shows you're willing to adapt. Just keep in mind your supplies and pricing." As they continued to talk, something unexpected happened. She realized that the inspector was less of a looming threat and more of a potential ally. By voicing her ambitions, she was showing him she wasn't just a diner owner, she was a person fighting for something meaningful. But just as she felt that spark of connection, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. Her heart dropped. What was that? Panic coursed through her veins as she rushed toward the kitchen, leaving the inspector momentarily speechless behind the counter. "Sarah!" Jake shouted, flinging open the door to the kitchen. "We have a situation." "What happened?" she asked, her pulse pounding as she scanned the room. Tommy knocked over a full tray of dishes. "Just a bit of chaos, but nothing broken yet," Jake said, his voice calm but urgent. Relief flooded through her, but it was quickly followed by the weight of uncertainty. The inspector was behind her, watching everything unfold, judging. In that moment, a realization struck. Maybe chaos was part of running a diner, part of life. Perhaps what she truly feared wasn't the inspection but the messiness of her own journey. Trusting Jake, trusting herself, and stepping into this moment, even with everything in disarray. As Sarah swung into action, rallying her staff and grabbing a mop, she couldn't shake the feeling that this day was pivotal, a defining moment. Even as everything felt overwhelming, she stood a little taller, fueled by determination. What would the inspector think of her now, caught in the whirlwind of it all? Would he see the heart in her chaos, or would her labor of love be dismissed? As she faced the challenge head-on, the stakes seemed higher than ever. She could change everything in the next few minutes, but one question lingered. Would this chaotic moment lead her to triumph, or slowly unravel the fragile new thread she'd begun to weave with Jake? The kitchen buzzed with frantic energy as Sarah tried to keep her composure. Tommy stood sheepishly in the corner, his eyes wide, while Grace and Leah scrambled to clean up the scattered plates. Sarah took a deep breath, channeling all her anxiety into focus. "All right, everyone, let us get back on track," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. "Jake, can you help Tommy gather the clean dishes? Grace, can you keep an eye on the grill? Leah, let us get that floor cleaned up fast." Before her words trailed off when she spotted the inspector still lingering near the doorway, his clipboard poised like a weapon. "Please don't just watch. Any feedback?" "I'm open to it," she urged, her words tumbling out. The inspector observed the scene with a keen eye, the tension in the room palpable. "Keep your team focused. You can't let a distraction compromise your service," he said, not unkindly. There was a nuance of understanding in his tone, like he saw more than just a diner in disarray. He saw the heart of a leader amidst the turmoil. A part of her wanted to drown in embarrassment, but the flicker of validation sparked something different. "Right. Thank you for that. We're working through it," she replied, and the next moment she was back at the center, guiding her staff, her confidence growing with each passing second. "Let us go. 1, 2, 3, lift," she shouted. Together, they lifted a table to clear the debris. It felt exhilarating, the harmony of teamwork. With each plate that was restacked and every mop stroke that glided across the floor, the heart of the diner started to beat stronger in unison. The inspector moved closer, observing each interaction, his pen scratching notes with purpose. The weight of judgment transformed into curiosity. Sarah could feel it. Was he actually paying attention to the unity unfolding before him? Once the kitchen settled, Sarah turned her focus back to the inspector. So, what do you think? He raised an eyebrow, impressed. You handled that chaos well. A lot of owners would have faltered. A smile broke across her face, the compliment buoying her spirits. Thank you. It's not easy, but every moment teaches us, right? Exactly, he said, nodding. That's the core of it. It's learning and growing. As they continued their discussion, Sarah's heart felt lighter. She could sense a newfound connection between them, an understanding that all owners face trials, but those trials can also build resilience. Then the bell above the diner door jingled, and in walked old Mr. Henderson, a regular, and the town's oldest newspaper columnist. Morning, folks! You're not shutting down on me today, are you? Not at all. Sarah called out, and he ambled over to the counter, taking a seat. You want your usual? He nodded appreciatively, eyes twinkling with mischief. Only if you're giving me that famous coffee of yours. Sarah couldn't help but chuckle. This was the life she cherished: community, connection, and the warmth that came from a simple cup of coffee. She admired Jake playing the role of a server, engaging Mr. Henderson in friendly banter while smoothly pouring a cup. With the inspector still observing, Sarah felt a pulse of determination. Would he see the spirit of the diner, her passion, or just the mess of the day? A part of her hoped for the former. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Sarah glanced up, momentarily confused. Did the power, just a loud crash, interrupted her thought? The fryer short-circuited, sending sparks flying. Panic surged back into the room, and instinct kicked in. Jake! She yelled, her heart racing as she moved in the direction of danger. We might need to, but before she could finish, she noticed the way the inspector's expression turned from curiosity to concern. As they all rushed into action, Sarah couldn't help but wonder one thing: could this newfound collaboration turn the chaos into an opportunity for something bigger, or would they crumble under the pressure yet again? The kitchen erupted into a frenzy. Sparks flew, the smell of burning oil filled the air, and the sound of sizzling turned into a disturbing pop. Sarah's breath hitched as she watched the fryer lurch, the heat radiating like a warning. Every instinct told her to pull everyone back, but the urgency of the moment pushed her forward. Everyone, step back! She shouted, her voice slicing through the alarm. Leah, get the fire extinguisher! Grace, keep the doors clear! Jake darted over to help her. Together, they turned off the fryer and yanked it away from the wall, trying to contain the chaos. Sarah felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. A mere misstep could send everything crashing down. Her heart pounded. Would they be able to control this? The inspector, surprisingly stripped of his clipboard and professionalism, joined them in the frantic effort. His brow was furrowed with concern, and he moved with intentionality. First, we need to unplug it completely, he said urgently, kneeling beside the fryer. Right. Good thinking, Sarah replied, her heart swelling ever so slightly at his willingness to get involved. This wasn't just an evaluation anymore, it was a united front. As Jake wrestled with the cord, Sarah felt the weight of the team's collective effort. They were fighting against more than just sparks and heat. They were battling fears and doubts that had threatened to consume them. In that moment of crisis, they seemed to find their rhythm, their roles shifting naturally to meet the demands of the situation. The flames finally died down, but smoke lingered in the air like an unwelcome reminder. It was a close call, but they had tackled it together, and there was something powerful in that. Is everyone okay? Sarah checked, her gaze sweeping over her team. Yeah, just a bit shaken, Grace replied, her voice thin but steady. I'm fine, Tommy squeaked from behind the safety of the counter, his eyes still wide but relieved. Leah returned, fire extinguisher in hand, and looked at the scene with wide eyes. What just happened? Just an unexpected adventure. Sarah chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. The inspector straightened up, shifting from the role of onlooker to that of evaluator once again. That was impressive. You all worked instinctively, he said, nodding. It shows character how you respond under pressure. Sarah felt a thrill at the praise, yet her attention faded slightly as her thoughts wandered back to the earlier chaos. Thank you, she said, her voice steadier now. It felt chaotic, but we pulled together. Before he could answer, Mr. Henderson interrupted, still seated at the counter, dramatically waving his coffee cup. You got a fire extinguisher for my coffee? It's lukewarm. You should be more careful, Sarah. Laughter erupted in the diner, breaking the heaviness that had filled the room just moments before. There was joy in shared humor, a reminder of the community they were all building together here. Yet, as Sarah looked at the inspector and then at her staff, something inside her began to shift. She realized that the perception of their diner was so much more than just passing inspections. It was about creating a place filled with warmth, laughter, and collaboration. Before she could voice these thoughts, the inspector spoke again, this time his tone more serious. You have something special here, Sarah. But remember, managing a team also means being prepared for the unexpected. The next inspection might come with different challenges. His words struck a chord. It wasn't just about surviving chaos, it was about thriving through it. But just as hope began to bloom in her chest, the lights flickered again. The hum of the electrical circuit buzzed ominously, and doubt crept back into Sarah's mind. Not again, she whispered, feeling the tension rise once more. As the lights dipped low, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that another storm was on the horizon. Would they be able to confront whatever lay ahead together, or was this just the beginning of a much greater upheaval? The lights flickered and then dimmed completely, plunging the diner into an unsettling darkness. The low hum of the fridge was the only sound filling the void, a reminder that everything was still functioning, albeit with a fragile sense of normalcy. Sarah's heart raced as she squinted into the gloom, trying to make out the anxious faces around her. Jake, can you find a flashlight? She called, her voice tinged with urgency, breaking through the silence. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, amplified by a strange combination of anxiety and adrenaline. On it! Jake's voice punctured the darkness, and he rushed toward the back room. Everyone stay calm, Sarah announced, more to convince herself than anyone else. Leah, can you grab your phone? We might need the flashlight. Sure thing, Leah replied, and the faint glow of her phone illuminated the spaces around her, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Grace moved closer to Sarah, looking a bit panicked. What's going on, Sarah? Is this something we should worry about? We're okay, she assured, but doubt crept back in, gnawing at her confidence like a rat in the walls. It was one thing to handle a minor kitchen disaster, but another when the very foundation of her business felt shaky. Just then, the diner's old generator kicked in with a sputter, and the emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in a dull glow. The warmth of the sudden light brought a small wave of relief. Sarah noticed Jake coming back, flashlight in hand. Here, he said, shining it toward her. The light cut through the murky air, revealing the team's worried expressions. Thanks, Jake. Sarah smiled, the glimmer of teamwork reigniting her hope. But as she swept the beam around the diner, her gaze caught the inspector's. His face was a mix of concern and curiosity, which made her heart thud louder. They had faced a fire, now they were battling this uncertainty together. They needed a plan. We need to check the fuse box, she said, her voice steadying. Leah, Grace, stay here and keep an eye on the diner. The rest of us will take a look at what's wrong. The group nodded, their resolve resurfacing like embers in a dying fire. As they moved toward the back room, Jake suddenly stopped, a thoughtful look crossing his face. You know, what happened back there with the fryer? It brought us all together. It was kind of incredible. Sarah paused, reflecting on those moments. Yeah, it really was. Turning to the inspector, Jake added, and seeing everyone pitch in like that makes you realize how much this place means to us. Exactly, the inspector agreed, his eyes softening. You have a team capable of great things. Just remember, challenges will keep coming. Sarah felt energized by his words, breathing life into her thoughts. It's not just about surviving the next challenge, it's about making this diner a place that thrives through it. When they finally reached the fuse box, the air was thick with anticipation. Jake carefully opened the door, the flashlight illuminating the tangled knots of wires. "Okay, what do we need to look for?" he asked, peering closely. Before Sarah could reply, her phone buzzed unexpectedly in her pocket. She fished it out, glancing at the screen. The message was from Mr. Henderson, and it read, "Just an FYI, my vote for Best Diner was just submitted. A little hiccup won't change our love for what you've built here." Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. "Yes, right. We're a family, and that's what makes the difference," she murmured. Then, as Sarah turned back to the fuselage, a loud cracking noise echoed through the diner. The lights buzzed before flickering out completely, throwing them back into complete darkness. Deep breath. They weren't losing hope now. "Stay close, everyone," she urged, her voice a beacon in the night. Would their sense of unity hold strong under this latest challenge, or was this an omen of larger troubles lurking just around the corner? The silence that enveloped the diner was thick, almost tangible. Sarah could feel the weight of darkness clinging to her skin, a stark contrast to the warmth and camaraderie that had filled the space just moments before. The anxiety of the sudden power outage seeped into every corner, sending small shivers along her spine as the familiar faces of her team loomed in the shadows. "Jake, do you want to take a look in the box?" "I'll hold the flashlight," she proposed, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He nodded, taking the flashlight from her with a firm grip. "Let us see what we're dealing with." As the light cut through the darkness, Sarah caught glimpses of her colleagues, Leah with her phone still in hand, Grace leaning against the counter, their faces etched with worry. She needed them to believe that everything would be okay. "We've handled worse," she said, the words sounding more like a mantra than a reassurance. From the back, a faint creak suggested that someone else was making their way to the front, likely the inspector. Her stomach tightened. What if he doubted her ability to handle the situation? She pushed that thought away and focused on Jake. "Did you see anything?" she asked, peering over his shoulder. "Just some loose wires," he replied, shining the beam deeper into the box. "I think we can fix it, but I'm not an electrician. I might need a second opinion." "Let us see if we can find a manual or something," Sarah suggested, desperate to avoid any more mishaps. "Maybe there's information posted somewhere around here." The inspector arrived, interrupting the moment. "How can I help?" His calm demeanor didn't match Sarah's jittery nerves. "It looks like the wires are messed up," Jake explained, gesturing into the box. "We need to fix this quickly. Any ideas?" "I've seen worse," the inspector said, kneeling beside Jake. "Let us check the connections and see if we can differentiate the wires by color. Make sure no bare wires are touching." The duo worked diligently as Sarah directed the light. She squinted, concentrating on the scene. In another world, this was the kind of teamwork she had always dreamed of, yet here they were in a state of crisis. When they started reattaching the wires, a sudden crackle of electricity surged through the air, making Sarah flinch. "What was that?" she gasped. "Just the generator sputtering," Jake assured her, but there was a tension in his voice that gave her pause. As they twisted wires back together, Sarah felt a wave of determination wash over her. "We can do this. We're going to bring this diner back to life," she declared, her voice rising with fervor. The inspector glanced up at her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "You have the spirit of a true leader, Sarah." Just then, with a vibrancy that filled the room, the emergency lights returned, flickering momentarily before settling into a steady glow. Cheers erupted from the back where Leah and Grace had been nervously watching, celebrating the small victory. "Looks like we're halfway back," Grace called out, her face breaking into a smile that reminded Sarah of brighter days. But as she marveled at how teamwork had transformed the moment, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call. Checking the screen, Sarah's stomach twisted. It was her landlord, Mr. Dawson, and he had never called after hours unless it was serious. "Guys, I need to take this," she said, stepping back from the group and answering the call. "Hello?" Sarah, his voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of tension. We need to discuss that complaint I received about the diner. I can't ignore these reports about. The words faded in and out, but Sarah felt a chill creep down her spine. This felt bigger than flickering lights. What complaint? What did he mean? As she listened, the warmth of the diner seemed to fade, and the voices around her blurred. Was this what it meant to run a diner? To keep a family together while the walls threatened to tumble down? She took a deep breath, trying to shove aside the rising tide of anxiety. Mr. Dawson, suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the diner, as if something had toppled over behind her. What had just happened? Was this the turning point they feared? The crash sliced through the conversation like a knife, pulling Sarah's attention sharply back to the scene around her. The energy in the diner shifted instantaneously. She spun around, her heart pounding. Had someone fallen? Was it just a stack of dishes? Sarah? What was that? Grace's voice trembled. I don't know, Sarah stammered, anxiety tightening her throat. The warm glow of the emergency lights flickered on their faces, highlighting the concern etched across them. Jake dropped the flashlight, rushing toward the source of the sound. Stay here, he called back, his voice tinged with urgency. With a sinking feeling, Sarah moved closer to follow him. Her instincts told her to be alert. She stepped cautiously past the tables, each shadow casting ominous shapes against the walls. The energy once filled with camaraderie felt now like a prelude to something darker. Leah, you okay? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper as they moved toward the kitchen, the only place where anything could have fallen. Yeah, just I'm worried about what's happening, Leah replied, nervously glancing over her shoulder. As they reached the kitchen doorway, Sarah froze. There, amidst the overturned pots and pans, lay a broken plate, something so innocuous yet so symbolic of their fragile situation. Sarah knelt to pick up the shards, the motion feeling almost ceremonial. Was it just a plate? Jake returned, his brow furrowed. I think so. She hesitated, the chaos still swirling in her mind. But it feels bigger. I can't shake this feeling that something's wrong. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket once more. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen to see a text notification. It was from Mr. Dawson. We need to meet immediately. Urgent matter regarding the diner. I need to talk to him in person, Sarah said, her voice firm despite the unease coursing through her. We can't let rumors or complaints fester. This is our house, and we'll protect it. Grace nodded, her brow knit with concern. What do you think he heard? I mean, if it's bad, what does that mean for us? Before Sarah could respond, Jake added, just remember, we're in this together. Whatever it is, we can figure it out. No one gets left behind. His words struck a chord, igniting a flicker of resolve in Sarah. You're right. We won't let anything tear us apart. We'll face it as a team. They all gathered in a circle, forming that bond of solidarity she'd ached for in moments of doubt. As they united their spirits, the air around them sharpened, energy crackled with purpose. But just as Sarah felt her resolve solidifying, the front door creaked open. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the dim light. The inspector. She had half expected him to leave after they fixed the generator. Instead, he stepped in with an expression she couldn't quite read. Sarah, he said, his tone surprisingly serious. You need to brace yourself. There's more at stake than just a complaint. I saw something that might change everything for the diner. Her heart raced not just with fear, but a sense of impending revelation. What do you mean? Sarah's voice cracked as she probed deeper. This wasn't just about flickering lights anymore. The inspector took a deep breath, clearly weighing his next words with care. You need to know what I found out about the chef. Her stomach dropped. What could it possibly be? Did it involve the future of the diner? About the chef? She repeated, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, he said, stepping further inside, bringing a wave of tension with him. And it might change how you view everything you thought you knew. What revelation could be so monumental? Could it really threaten what she held dear? The next moment felt critical, like the calm before a storm, as Sarah braced herself for what would come next. Sarah felt her heart race, a pressure building in her chest as she faced the inspector. The air thickened with tension, every breath a reminder of how much was at stake. "What about the chef?" she pressed, her voice steadier than she felt. The inspector met her gaze, his expression sincere. "I've been conducting routine checks for optimal safety, but I noticed something concerning with the current staffing. There have been complaints regarding the food quality and handling." Sarah's mind spun. "Who? What did they say?" she demanded, her hands clenching into fists. The safety and reputation of her diner felt fragile, hanging in the balance. About dietary restrictions not being honored and some items being unsanitary. "It's not just hearsay. I witnessed things myself," he replied. "I know it seems harsh, but I'm here to support you. We can fix this together." "Fix?" The word flew from her lips. "How can we fix something if we don't know what has broken?" Jake stepped forward, his voice calm. "Sarah, this is a community effort. We can divide tasks, identify the issues, improve everything step by step. You don't have to tackle this alone." A flicker of determination ignited within her. This was not the end, it was a chance to rise above. "You're right," Sarah declared, unveiling a plan in her mind. "We will take immediate action. We'll gather the team, have open discussions, and get to the root of the problems. We can't allow this to define us." "Let me help you set everything right," the inspector offered, a clear sign he was on her side. "I'll guide you through what's needed, so you won't face sudden consequences." With renewed strength, Sarah felt the walls of uncertainty begin to crack. "Thank you. I want our diner to be a place of love and safety. Those complaints won't overshadow what we've built." Just then, Grace's voice broke in, urgent and insistent. "But what if the health department gets involved? What if they shut us down?" The fear in her eyes mirrored the anxiety rolling through Sarah's stomach. "No," Sarah said firmly, her heart pounding. "We'll confront this. Together. And I will not let this diner fall." As they took their places in the small kitchen, Sarah felt the warmth of her friends and coworkers swirling around her again, like a comforting embrace. They formed a huddle, each of them bringing their unique skills to the table. "Leah, I want you to take charge of customer feedback. Grace, reach out to our regulars and find out what they love and want to see change. Tommy, I need you with me in the back to check our supplies and see where the mishaps are happening," she ordered, her confidence radiating through the group. The energy shifted. It was as though with each task assigned, her team bolstered their courage against the looming storm. After a few moments of quiet hesitation, Jake raised his hand. "And I'll handle the inspector's recommendations. We need to make a great impression, right?" He winked, a lingering smile easing the heaviness of the moment. "Exactly." Sarah beamed with gratitude. "Everyone's perspective is important. We're here for each other." As they tackled the tasks ahead, Sarah felt like the heart of a vibrant machine. The diner wasn't just about the food. It was about the people. Their strength emerged timeless through every dish shared, every laugh held tight in chaotic moments, and every challenge faced together. Hours flew by in a blur of activity. They scrubbed counters, prepared fresh ingredients, and debated menu changes. Every little adjustment felt monumental, invigorating her spirit. Finally, as the evening sun dipped below the horizon, they stood together in front of the diner, its familiar facade flickering with the now-repaired neon sign. The warmth in Sarah's chest glowed brighter than ever. They had turned a corner. This was their moment. As the community ambled through the door, the laughter and chatter enveloped them in a joyful embrace. Sarah's heart raced with hope. "Remember, this is our diner," she declared to the team, squeezing Jake's hand tightly. "We are a family, and we'll continue to rise and adapt with love and laughter." Cheers erupted among customers and team members as they settled into the rhythm of the night. But as Sarah gazed around, soaking in the joy and resilience surrounding her, she caught the inspector's eye. He nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her commitment. She felt proud, a fierce sense of belonging swelling within. Everything wasn't perfect, but together they had faced the storm. The challenges transformed into stepping stones, leading toward a brighter future. In that moment, Sarah realized they had become more than just a diner. They had forged a community of support, resilience, and an unwavering spirit. "Let us keep this momentum going," Sarah proclaimed, ready for what lay ahead. "We're just getting started." And as laughter filled the diner, and hope blossomed around her, she knew this was truly just the beginning of their incredible journey together, a journey filled with warmth, friendship, and lots of love. So here's the deal, folks. If you felt the passion in Sarah's journey, or if you believe in the power of community, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button, give it a tap, because it feeds the algorithm and helps more people discover these incredible stories. Want to share your thoughts? Comment below, how did this ending resonate with you? Remember, the journey doesn't end here. You have to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Join hands in this amazing community, and let us keep the stories coming.